I was trying to find some resources the other day, and I found this really good one, but I didn't want to break copyright, and I reached out on Twitter and said, hey, would it be okay if we borrow some of this and use it as a resource? And like within 10 minutes, he responded, yeah, that would be awesome. The stuff, Megan Eberhardt, one of my former colleagues who's down in Mankato, I don't know if she's on the call or not, but I think through the KIC found the great site of that Sacred Heart had put, our Sacred Heart Prep out in California had put together on kind of planning for this. And, you know, they were gracious enough to give us a Creative Commons license to utilize some of their work. And then we found a great site in Japan, and they were gracious enough to let us borrow their stuff. And Bloomington's and all the districts who have shared their resources have been so gracious in doing that, and that just allows us to be the best we can be.
Troy, you got anything to add to this question?
Yeah, I can just share a little bit about the biggest thing that we've been trying to communicate to all of our teachers is, as we're doing this and we're training our teachers, we're going to have to provide support to our students and our parents. And so being consistent, more so than ever, have we had buy-in in this is what we need in all of our courses, and just consistency. So when we send out our messaging and our support for our teachers, or for our parents and students, we can be clear in saying, in all of our courses, there's an agenda, the very first thing that you'll see. In all of our courses, there's a discussion question that says questions for instructors. Just that consistency, so when I'm a parent at home trying to help my kids, if I can, I'm not looking in 15 different places to find what I need to do digitally. So that consistency is extremely important. And in the situation, like as the other people have shared, and echo Sean, it's a roller coaster of emotions that we've been on, and trying to provide support. It's like we've been, like Sean, everybody has said, we've been wanting to have this world, and then sharing and training, and you get your buy-in and you don't get your buy-in. We have complete buy-in, and we have teachers working together like never before. We have the collaboration, and supporting them with systems has been what we've been really focusing on. Systems where they can be a student in a Schoology course, where we're providing all of the support that we can in dialogue. Discussion boards have been super helpful for our teachers to ask questions, and they're answering each other's questions. It's not just our tech staff and our curriculum staff. Providing them the tutorials that they have. We have a lot of resources that we've built up over the years, and those are definitely coming into high commodity right now of being used. The MPCC stuff is going to take off because it is a perfect foundation as some teachers are delving into this for the very first time. So those things are the things that we've been really focusing on system-wide, is having the support mechanisms in place, getting teachers in as a course so they can see what life is like as a student, giving them the power to support each other, because we're preparing. So in a week, if we can't be in the same building, we can still support each other. That has been our biggest rush and anxiety moving forward, is to get people in a spot where we can still work and collaborate together digitally through video conferencing and through the tools that are embedded within Schoology, and then giving them, and not just the Schoology course, but giving them a spot within Schoology groups where they can share their resources like we do with the MPCC stuff. So we have teachers at grade levels across 2 districts where we've been having a conversation of how are we going to bring these 2 districts together. Well, they're working together now, and it took 2 days, and they're sharing content back and forth, and they're sharing videos. Teachers at the elementary level are taking turns. Hey, I'll read this book, and I'll make a video of it, and I'll read this book, and they're putting it in folders, and then so they can share that out to their classes, and kind of keep some semblance of like the routine that they've done with their students. So that's been really cool to see.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. I am going to skip ahead because I think I want to make sure that we get to audience questions. So, sorry about that. There were some questions asked earlier, and I guess I'll open it up with this one. And then if other people have questions in the chat, please put them in the chat. Otherwise, I think you can unmute yourselves and ask a question. But first, there was a question asked about grading. Do you have any information about like what people are doing with grading? Are they still doing kind of the same thing? Are they doing like PN grading? What are you guys seeing as far as grading practices that are being talked about?
I'll throw out what we talked about quickly, and then I'll mute myself. But paring down, so a lot less grading, maybe more important things, and focusing on that scaling back and what is the most important thing. And the first week isn't about grading, and that's kind of how we're moving forward. But grading's importance will be kind of determined when we figure out how long this is going to be and what we have to do. But
this is John Fila. I've just finished a video that I'm editing now and will upload tonight to our PD playlist that's linked in the short link. But some of the concepts we're trying to focus on are things we've always wanted people to do when they're providing feedback, and really try to focus on not so much just the score-based feedback, but being able to provide it in a timely manner immediately if possible. So wherever the system can help grade that, making sure students have time for reflection and revision. This is going to give us an opportunity to really do the things that we've thought have been important for a long time. So maybe first and foremost around the idea that we want to assess the task and the skill and not the behavior. So we'll completely get away from docking kids for late work or docking their points if they show up late. I'm not saying we do this at 287, but I know that these are common practices across the field where students are often losing points or credit based on the behaviors, and we can finally get to a more standards-based grading type of philosophy without having those things get in the way. What I'm really trying to focus on now is also making it a little more personalized. So getting teachers to use the student's name when they're writing feedback, just so that they see that personal touch in text. Getting away from saying things like "good job" or providing empty praise. We want things to be more specific and praising the effort that students are making, and really encouraging them to put their best work forward because we have high expectations of them. So there will be a lot of tips in that video that I think should help with grading practices that go beyond just a simple score.
So just so you know, this is Jeff. In the chat, I'm trying to pull out some of the responses to these grading things. These are not my words, just so you know. So yeah, I'm trying to do that. The recording of this call is going to be available on the same site where we promoted it, and the resources are going to be linked there. Troy Anderson from Elk River, welcome to this call. Troy asked, is there a place where folks can post some resources? And yeah, we're getting lots of questions about that. Sean, I don't want to call you out here, but I think you had a dream of doing a unified resource repository. Who's got ideas on the best places to put resources right now? There are several that I know about, but I'm not quite sure what is the best.
I've tried to launch a couple times. Is that Troy Anderson from Elk River? I like that guy. Yeah. Good guy.
Maybe he should start this.
Yeah, Troy, you start it. I posted in the KIC group from Sourcewell a spreadsheet in there, and so it is a good question because there's so much of this going on. The other thing that I wondered about is, and I sent a spreadsheet out for this as well that didn't necessarily get a lot of traction. So I'm doing the scatter shot approach, whatever I can get people to glam onto, is hashtags around Twitter. I mean, maybe it's less about grabbing up all of the resources and putting them in one place and knowing what hashtags to search. I also I saw Andy Bedeau is on here too, and so I know the one group that I reached out to was our Minnesota Item group, so our library and media specialists group. So I think that they're probably an incredible resource in this time to help us curate those resources as well. And so I read a number of questions that I think people want to get answers to around, just functionally. So I think I'll address a little bit of that in a second. I wonder if Mike Walker doesn't have some feedback about what's going on at the secondary as far as grading and responses for grades go in Edina.
Yeah, this is Mike. So our plan, the way we have it for secondary, is that all the teachers are posting their attendance-based assignment by 9 a.m. and students have until 5 p.m. to complete it. And that's how students will be marked present or not. But that doesn't mean that they won't be having other assignment type things posted. As I said, we want to start simple and successful at the start, but then, as we move into this, I'm kind of operating from the standpoint that this is how we're going to finish the school year. And so, I'm posting on what the parents see. It will say something to the effect of that those assignments will not be the only ones your child has. There may be longer term assignments that they're working on, et cetera. One of the things but as far as exactly what grading looks like, we haven't necessarily had those discussions, and we need to. But I think the expectation is that we will move into some type of distance learning that is robust and has grades. That's my guess. It's not for sure though.
So, Mike, as long as you're still there, this is an important question and one that I can actually answer too. Do teachers take attendance in all courses in the high school?
Yes, the way we have it set up right now is all teachers will be taking attendance for the periods that we have a 7-period day, and we're just we did some flex blocking on 2 days a week in our normal scheduling, but now we're just 7 periods a day each day. And so we've scheduled it out so that there could be a 45-minute block for each class, so that if a teacher did want to go synchronously, they could, or they could be asynchronous. And but then the other thing that we did that I think at all of our grade levels is we are saying that Fridays will be asynchronous only. There'll still be some synchronous office hour type time. If kids have questions, they can check in with the teacher on. But the rest of the day is going to be asynchronous. And what we're hoping for then is to capture some planning time and collaboration for staff. ELC is working on assessments and things during that time, because they won't be doing a direct instruction necessarily on those days, on that Friday. But they'll still have assignments posted, and kids will be completing work during those days, or working on long-term project type things on those days. So that's kind of how we're handling that scheduling. At the middle school, they have a morning block after their office hours and an afternoon block after their office hours. And then they have a block in the middle for lunch and activities, getting kids outside, doing different activities, making, et cetera, that isn't as defined.